do all right, welcome everybody. Welcome. Here to the Nguzo Saba 365 study group, brought to you by the Inland Area Kwanzaa Group. I am Brother Shuja Baker, and it's a pleasure to have you all here with us tonight. We got a good program tonight, kicking off what we think of as Black History Month Part 2, where we do a focus on our sisters, Black women, and talk about them, celebrate them, and love on them. And we got an outstanding program coming up tonight to kick us off. With that, we got our sister, Kathy Duncan and Dr. Jamille Sims going to walk us through a presentation tonight titled Myths and Methods of the Black Superwoman. And we look forward to that. So with no further ado, I'm going to back out and introduce Sister Kathy Duncan, who is a longtime member of the Inland Area Kwanzaa Group, a good all-around sister and a friend and a community servant, long-time healthcare professional, healthcare administration professional, and contract negotiator, right? We're happy to have her here with us. She's going to be followed up by Dr. Jamille Sims, and I'll do a more formal introduction to her at that point. But we're going to go ahead and turn it over to Sister Kathy, who's going to lead us off tonight and walk us into this presentation tonight, where we're going to be talking about myths and methods of the Black Superwoman. Sister Kathy.
Abargani, everyone. I am Kathy Duncan, also fondly known as a Toddy. Wanted to do the video first and lead into my talk from the video.
All right, well, let me go ahead and get that going.
Okay.
Share my screen. And let's see. Share that screen. Let's see it up here.
Growing up as a kid, I hated my dark skin. And if I could be transparent, even now as a grown woman, I have to constantly reprogram my thinking. Years of being told I was not the standard for beauty, but see, that was a lie. Which is why I chose to rewrite my own narrative. Dear Black girl, we are warriors whose spirits can't be crushed. We speak up when told we're too much. We forgive when our Black men dismiss, degrade, and can't see that we are not the ugly ducklings, but the swan princess, the Nubian goddess, the reflection of our ancestors, the made in his image. When society tries to pin light versus dark skin.
I'm sorry.
We remind them that every shade of chocolate is divinely crafted. Black girl magic is more than a hashtag. It is a movement, a statement like Maxine Waters claiming our power, moving through this world unapologetically, degree holding with our heads held high, melanin moisturized, big hips, thick thighs, hair free and natural, wrapped in a protective style. Dear Black girl, you better recognize we are the trailblazers. Everybody wants to be us. So to all my sisters, as we continue this process of loving our skin, start with this. Look at yourself in the mirror. This is me, the chocolate beauty, deserving and saying, I am queen, the dear Black girl. No. That you are everything.
Asante Sana, Suja. And again, Habar Ghani, everyone. I wanted to play a little something different to kind of get the evening started. And I saw this spoken word, which I love to hear spoken word, and just thought this would give us a good jump start for Women's History Month. I read an article in Forbes dated October 21st, 2022 by Adana Brown Lee. The title of the article was Black Women Leaders Are More Ambitious, but Less Supported at Work. And this spoke to me deeply. I sent it over to my daughters and they read it. And my youngest daughter wrote back to me, I check off all the boxes. There's words of encouragement that I always surround myself with in my office because I like to feel empowered every day. I work in an environment where negotiating isn't easy, but there are good days. Today was a good day. But there's a saying in my office that says, work hard and let your, work hard in silence and let your success be your noise. We as African-American women, that is what we are: dedicated, passionate, and talented in the workspaces. We don't second step, we don't sidestep. We actually put all that we have into our jobs to do a good job. But half the time we are never actually recognized. But as I was raised, and I'm sure most Black women have been, whatever we put our mind to do, we do, and we do it with tenacity, purpose, and determination. My mother was a teacher for over 30 years. She loved what she did, but she was able to take off if she wanted to for sick time, but never did. She had a whole year of sick time and never took it until she really needed it. But that's dedication. And I saw this woman over the years put in her time, enjoy what she would do. She would even pull us with her for summer school. And we got to see our mother in action doing what she loved. And that was teaching elementary school kids. Third grade was her favorite grade level. We're driven to be successful, but we are forever looked over, taken for granted, passed over, not respected, nor garner support in pursuit of leadership in the workplace. African women work harder than both their male and female counterparts. A lack of conformity becomes misunderstood as being too aggressive, angry, and not a team player. I have had that happen so many times. I come into work, if I came in with braids, or at one time trying to get on a job, I decided to cut my hair, and my supervisor had the audacity to ask me, why did I do that? My hair has had never anything to do with the knowledge in my head, the capabilities that I have to do my job. But so often they look upon us as being less than because we don't conform to the choices or the things that everyone else is deemed to feel is correct. If it's not our hair, it's our choice of clothing, and at times the way we speak. I know I have a little bit of a Southern accent sometimes because my parents are from the South, but I've had folks ask me if I was from the islands, because I do have a little twang and I sometimes do make up words. But again, it has nothing to do with my capability of being a leader, of being able to teach, and do a good job at what I do. Today was a good day, as I said, but I was in a meeting with all white men. And my director did an excellent job in letting them know what projects we were working on. But I watched their body language. I listened to the words that were coming out of their mouth. And as well as she did in this meeting, they still gave me the impression that, okay, we'll listen to what she has to say kind of attitude, but not giving her the depth of respect and accomplishment that she has put in this job. We should not have to be subject to this second class or third class behavior because of the color of our skin, the way we wear our hair, or even the way that we talk. What we need to do is be bold enough and unapologetic to speak up in these situations because we're good at what we do. I don't want to continue to preach on the negatives because I didn't want to take up too much time because I do want to share the space with my Dr. Jamille and give her opportunity to speak as well. But this is what I say to African American women that are passionate, compassionate about what they do. You don't step into a job just to do a job. Now, I know there are some people that will just decide to get a job to get over, but I didn't get into this profession for that. I did want to be a doctor and decided that healthcare, from a negotiating standpoint, understanding how things are actually derived, was something that I pushed to get to where I am now. So I say to African American women, don't stay stagnant on a job too long that doesn't appreciate your talent or value. Your mental health is precious. It is important. And you need to surround yourself with a lot of positive affirmations, prayer, meditation. Those things are important for you to be in these positions where we're not appreciated. But we have to appreciate who we are first and let the world outside understand that their noise is not going to stifle us, not one iota. Gain experience, knowledge, and excel to move into the next step to building who you are and want to be. Always have a plan and be passionate about it. Oprah Winfrey says, passion is energy. Feel the power that comes from focusing on what excites you. So don't just get into a job to say that you're in it to not win it. And with that, if there are any questions, concerns, I hope that made sense, but that's my presentation.
Thank you so much for that, kind sister. I want to give you a round of applause. Ask everybody else to join and give her a round of applause for the energy she put into that presentation. And we want to thank you. Take some questions at the end, good sister. And I guess as I was listening to you here, I was thinking of how all of the principles, you know, we here to advance the Nguzo Saba, how all of the principles could be applied to and extracted from the message that you just shared with us, you know, and there, of course, some that stand out more than others, you know. Self-determination in the struggle is always, you know, part of the primary focus and energy that we got to put out there. But all of them are in there, right?
Asante Sana.
Yes, indeed. And we got Dr. Jamille Sims, Dr. Jamille Harrell Sims, who's going to follow that presentation up and talk to us about the myths and methods of the Black Superwoman. And it was a discussion with Dr. Jamille that brought this up, this particular presentation. We were talking about the myths that go along with the whole idea of a Black Superwoman. and the fact that there are so many. But I said at the same time, we know that Black women are the Black women are the shit, right? And we have to be able to acknowledge that and have a balanced conversation about the myths that go along with it, but also talk about and celebrate the wonderfulness of what it means to be a Black woman. So I'm looking forward to what Dr. Jamille Sims is going to bring to us tonight. She is a professor of behavioral sciences and communication, organic herbalist, right? A life coach, and many other things. And I'm looking forward to what she is going to bring to us tonight. So Dr. Jamille Sims, go ahead and do your thing.
Greetings and salutations. So I just want to, I always have a different take on things. I want to definitely give honor and respect to Sister Kathy because I felt what she was saying while she was speaking. I was having flashbacks of the corporate plantation. I want to start off by saying the title is, we're talking about the myth of the Black Superwoman. This myth is dangerous. And I'm not trying to come negative. I'm trying to come factful and truthful, because for my sisters who are out there, I want you to hear me. And for my brothers who are out there, I really want you to hear me, because no one really considers what we go through. And granted, our brothers are under attack, and we can historically prove that the brothers have been under attack. And when you can remove the man from the family, then you can infiltrate and take over. But sisters, we have been standing up strong with the pitchfork in hand. So when you come for our men, we are the ones that are left to defend. And the one thing that I want us to really, if we take anything away from this talk, is we can have philosophical conversations all day. I'm a solution-oriented person, and I'm about solutions. And one thing I want to stop, I want us to strongly consider stopping, is this Black male misandry and this misogyny that's going on, this division between us and our men, because it is designed to destroy us from the inside out. You don't have to look far. But let me give some honor to our sisters, because when you talk about trying to make a living, when you talk about holding the family together, we are the first teachers in the womb. I'm also a doula. I'm a birth doula. And before we even give that birth, everything that we feel, everything that we experience, it's not just what we eat and what we take into our bodies as far as nourishment. It's mental, it's the environment, it's the stress level, it's the fear. Do we even think about the fear of when you find out that you're with child, the fear of, what kind of world am I bringing the child into? If it's a male child, we're very, very afraid, because we already know that society does not favor our child. If it's a female child, we know historically what's been done to us throughout history. In this country, we're not even going to talk about the rest of the world. We're just going to talk about this country. And so even when we carry the child, everything that is put into that child comes from us. I want to make it very clear, and we are the womb men. Womb men. We give birth. Nobody else can give birth but us. We give the birth. Nothing else is not up for discussion. And in giving birth, those birth pains are just like the same pains that we experience when we're trying to create something. We're very creative. We're builders. We build children. We build environments. We build the home. The man, he goes out, he protects, he provides, but who's building that infrastructure in the home? It's the woman. She does basically, if I want to talk about gender roles. She basically does the cooking, the cleaning, setting up the environment so that the home is pleasant to come to. She is the one who makes sure basically that the children are doing what they need to do. She's the one basically that meets with the teachers, and brothers do that too. But today we're talking about us. And we have to bear the brunt of things when things go wrong. And when the children get mad, they blame us. It sounds like a Tupac song, you know, Dear Mama. That should have been played. We have, you know, today's society, we don't have the luxury, and actually historically Black women have never had the luxury of just sitting at home while the man go to work. We've really never had that luxury because we've always had to strap the baby in our back and go and take care of business. So when we come into these corporate and government spaces, I come from government and I come from corporate, and we go into these spaces and we have to constantly code switch. And I know the whole family can understand this, where your Blackness has to be hidden, and you have to go in and you have to put on the Becky, you know, and be like cheery and hi, how are ya, you know, and all that, because to be your authentic self is frightening to others because they call it, I had been told you are intimidating. If you don't smile, if you didn't have any sleep, if something's on your mind and you're not cheery, it's intimidating to them. They want to control how you feel. They want to control how you look. Why do we press our hair? People say, well, you all are culturally appropriating straight hair. No, we're not. We had to do that just to even be presentable enough to get a job to feed our families. We have been forced to put ourselves last. We've been forced to adhere to white standards of beauty. And it's interesting that it turns around and now you have women dying to get the behinds that, you know, the Most High gave us naturally. The lips, I've seen so many women, your lips definitely don't match. So I know they're not yours. You know, they spend thousands and thousands and thousands, millions of dollars to look like us, yet we are still not the standard of beauty. You know, there is a pathology that comes with that to have for a little girl to grow up and not know that she is the poster child for beauty. She is, we are. Everyone wants to look like us. Everyone wants our strength. I've had colleagues say, oh, well, Black women are so strong. What does that mean? That we're strong? Are we strong, or are we doing what we have to do? Because if we don't, it falls apart. The myth of the strong Black woman, it is a myth. You know why? Because if we had our choice, we would not put ourselves through all this. In my opinion, we have to do this. There's a price to pay to be the strong Black woman. There's lots of sleepless nights. There's times when the only way you can make yourself feel better or deal with the stress is to eat. There are times that you come last. We don't take care of ourselves. I can't tell you how many women come and sit in the chair in front of my desk and they just want to cry. They just like, I don't do this. They really are so busy taking one for the team that they don't have any time for themselves. Racism and the system of white supremacy has done a huge number on Black women, and it's done a huge number on the family. But when you talk about Black women, you are talking about the Black family. You know, an article from the National Partnership for Women and Families, April 2018, talked about how structural racism affects Black women's health. How we have high blood pressure. It's not just in our food, it's the lack of sleep. It's the sympathetic nerve and the amount of stress, the fight or flight constantly. You work 40 to 60 hours a week. We don't get to come home and say the day's over because we have other responsibilities. The day is not over till we lay down and go to sleep. And some of us can't have a hard time doing that. And so this structural racism is constantly on our minds. Like, I need to move up because I need to take care of the family. We need more money, or I'm working 2 jobs, or I'm trying to get an education. And then we go get the education. And every time we get somewhere, they change the game on us. And now we got to come up with this. And then they change the game again. We can never catch up. They keep changing the game. But let me tell you, our spirit cannot be broken. So much so that during the great experiment for the last 3 years, when other people were crying and boo-hooing, and I don't know what I'm gonna do, and I'm depressed and I'm anxious and I have all these mental health issues that have gone through the roof, Black women said, okay, let me start this business. Okay, I can cook, so let me go on and do some meal preps. Okay, I can sew, so let me make these fashions. Okay, I can do such and such. Everybody's doing this and everybody's screaming about that, so let me take that off their plate. We are the one group in the country that created the most businesses during the worst times. And if you go back historically, during the worst times, we have always prevailed, always. We don't have a choice. We don't have a choice but to prevail. We are 3 times more likely, even in childbirth, even when we talk about systemic racism, we are 3 to 4 times more likely to have a C-section, to have a stillborn child, or to die in childbirth. Why is that? Because they think we don't feel pain, because we don't get listened to. An article, September 2020 out of Forbes, talked about how we are so discriminated in healthcare that we had to go to our old ways, doulas and midwives. And what we found is that if we have a doula or a midwife, instead of going into that hospital and same old thing and laying on your back, which is contrary to natural childbirth, we started to have better outcomes. The world looks at what we do, and then they copy and confiscate and cultural appropriate, even down to the hair. When we said we're not doing a creamy crack anymore, and we're just going to wear what the Most High gave us, what happened? Everybody else, I can't make no money off of them now because they don't want to wear the weave and everything, so they're wearing their hair. So then you have everybody else all of a sudden saying, well, I'm not going to straighten my hair anymore. I'm wearing my hair curly. We are the trendsetters. We're the ones that start the fashions, the trends, the hair, the makeup, social media, all that. That's us. They wait to see what we do. But the problem with that is that when we do it, who benefits? Financially, they do. They take what we create, they take some of our ancient art, and next thing you know, they're making the money off of it. It's hard being a Black woman, but it's beautiful because Black don't crack. Because even though we go through what we go through, we don't age like everybody else. They're looking for the fountain of youth. We are the fountain of youth. We are the pillar of health. We just have to help people understand in the family that if we go down, it all goes down. We have to have some self-care. We have to be cared for, and we have to be protected, and we are protected and we are cared for, but we're so busy out conquering the world because it's going to take us to do it. It's going to take us Black women to conquer the world. And we're doing it. I don't care what country you're in, we are rising up. Now, the issue with rising up is that I want it to be perfectly clear to my sisters who do see this. We can't do that without our Black men. We can't. So all the name calling and all the, infighting, that has to stop. It has to stop. We got to come together. We are the one group that everybody else fears, because once we know who we are and we come together, it is we, and we're such loving people. We're such self-sacrificing people. But one thing I can tell you, if we keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, that's called insanity. We are the beautiful ones. When I listen to that poem and they say, you know, how she feels in her dark skin, we have to understand a couple other things, is that we come in so many different shades, yet we're all highly melanated. We're not people of color. I don't even like the term. I don't even use the term. But we are highly melanated. We are aboriginal to this planet. And when I see a sister, I see a queen. And if her crown is crooked, I will, you know, and with all due love and respect, I will take her to the side and help her fix it. And that's how we have to treat each other. And that's how we have to raise our daughters. It's imperative that we do that right now. And in the workplace, they know who we are. I was just having a conversation with an old colleague. We're both, you know, she retired, I retired. We moved on. We got off the corporate or government plantation and went on to start our own businesses. And it's interesting how we both had the same experience, and many others, where they call in us to create a program that works. They have us working. They use our brain cells. We live in their minds rent-free. They use our brain cells, and then they turn around and they get the promotion and you get nothing. Stop doing it. Instead, go on that job, learn all you can learn, take your notes and take it with you when you go and create your own. Stop feeding into something that you know they don't want you to have. They'll only come to you because you allow it. Stop allowing people to live rent-free in your head, and stop allowing people to benefit off your hard work. Don't leave nothing behind and see what happens. The world is not easy, it's hard. Life is hard, but guess what? We are the ones that no matter what happens, we have the strength, the fortitude, the ability, and the royalty to persevere. We've already proven it. We are the most educated group in this country. If they flip the script tomorrow, we will be number one on that too. Don't believe all the statistics. We're not 13% of the population. If we were, then why does our vote count so much? You better start questioning some of the things that you hear and stand 10 toes down, queens. Stand 10 toes down. Because at the end of the day, everything is on our backs, whether we like it or not, whether we want it or not. And embrace your God-given beauty, talent, and intellect. And let's come up with a solution to all of our issues. Let's stop talking about it and let's be about it. That is all.
That's outstanding. Thanks for that, Dr. J. Dr. J, it's outstanding. I want to share, I guess, I made a couple of notes as you were talking. And my favorite line or favorite comment from the entire presentation was when you said, it's hard being a Black woman, but it's beautiful. You know, it's hard being a Black woman, but it's beautiful. Sisters are built for it. You know, and there's no doubt that the idea of the Black Superwoman gets pushed to unreasonable extremes. And I've always understood that the Black woman was as much a target of this system as Black men are. You know, the attack on Black men is real, but even that is a vehicle to get at Black women. You know, we can't be separated in that way. There's no doubt about those things. But at the same time, there's no doubt that there's no other group of human beings on earth who are better built for this. You know, the role that sisters play is a hard role, as you say, but it's one that you all do with dignity and grace, and a constant pursuit of continuous perfection. And I appreciate that. I want to ask a couple questions, or put a couple questions out for your response, and then just give you the opportunity, give other people the opportunity to ask. What are some of the key things that we can do? Or, I mean, and I know you touched on some things, but key things that we can do, key elements that we need to have in place, key practices that we need to have in place in our lives that you think would inform us or help us manage and overcome the struggles and things that you were outlining. What are some of the strategies that you use? What are some of the sources of inspiration that you draw from that aid you and assist you and strengthen you going through the struggle? And of course, that's for both of you all. So either of you take it.
Well, Asante Sana for the question. As I said, I have been raised with positive affirmations, prayer, meditation. But again, you got to know who you are too and what you're capable of. Self-confidence, self-awareness. I've never stepped into anything, and I hope I've imparted some of this to my daughters, who are very successful and probably do this a whole lot better than I do, because I don't apologize when I feel I'm right. I've learned that, and I have maintained that. I don't apologize when I know that I'm right. We have to be in a place, again, where we're in a confident enough in ourselves to speak up. And as my husband has said, speak your truth, just do it professionally. Folks have got to deal with who we are because we're confident enough in ourselves to not be bullied. And that's the way I feel that some of the world in the spaces that we walk into, from a job, or even if we're just walking into a store to shop, they see this first. They don't know what's in here. They don't know what's going to come out of my mouth. They just see this first. The hair, they make their assumptions, and they a lot of times will make them incorrectly. But I just feel you have to be full of a energy of self-confidence and not back down. And as the world has said, you can't be apologetic for it.
Yes, please. Know yourself and the rest will follow.
That's right.
Dr. J?
For me, life is always a transition. And so I've always looked at my surroundings. I do a lot of self-reflection. And also, one of the things that we need to do is we need to have support. I can say I've had a lot of support from my family. And, there's so many of us that don't have that. So one of the things that we need to do is we need to provide spaces for us to be able to let our hair down and be transparent and discuss our feelings. And those spaces have to be sacred in the fact that you can't invite anybody outside of Blackness to be there. I'm just going to say it, because then it's no longer sacred. We need the guidance of our elders. Now, when I was younger, there were, young ladies that, were older than me. I didn't have any sisters. So they kind of became my sisters and they kind of molded me. And now we are becoming the elders, and we have an obligation to help mold the women today. And what I'm seeing today, I'm very disappointed in some of our sisters, because what they're doing is not really productive. It is not the way to go. But it's our responsibility to provide that guidance if they want it. So for me, it's self-reflection, it's being held accountable to my family, you know, how I make them look, and it's modeling. I'm always thinking about, if I do this, how's that going to affect the next generation? So I'm careful.
And I like that you spoke about the importance of Black women having your own space to gather and to be yourselves without the expectation others might have that somehow they're supposed to be included in the space. You know, a question for those who want to assert that they are all for us in that way is, you know, how comfortable are you with us being us by ourselves? What, you know, without you being there, if you support us, then you should be supporting that. So it shouldn't even be a question for that. But I appreciated that. Anybody else have any other questions or comments?
Yes, I do. I want to say Asante Sana to Doc and to my wife for very enlightening and challenging presentations. I very much appreciate that and appreciate you. My question is this. Within the context of feminism, you know, feminism asserts itself to be an ideology that applies to all women. It asserts itself to be a global ideology that has no boundaries outside of sex. So my question is this: feminism is also increasingly associated with gender issues. As African American women, how do you see that? Are gender issues are they an equal concern for you as African Americans, as gender seems to be for feminists?
Okay. I'm laughing because I'm probably going to ruffle feathers. I could care less about feminism. Because my parents would be married 70 years next year. And they're both career people, but there was a hierarchy. Like my father, protector, provider, he was a backbone, you know, he made the major decisions. And then there was my mother, and she had her own power. And they you know, there's things that you do together, but I look at it like this: there's a natural order of things. And so it's, you know, if we're going to talk spiritually, and then the husband, and then the wife, and then the children. And so I personally, I just grew up with, there's things that I don't do, or I'm not supposed to be doing, because I'm a woman. It's not that I can't do it, I can do it very well, but I shouldn't have to do it. If there's a man in my life, I shouldn't have to do certain things. Now today, we have to work, or we won't make it. It takes 3 to 4 different modes of finance just to make it now. It's impossible to, it's very hard to sit at home and have the man do everything. Things have changed. Yes, the man needs to cook sometimes. Yes, he needs to help clean. Your helpmates. And that's how I look at it, helpmates. There's different types of feminism. And because I don't care much about feminism, I can't really comment on the different types, because I just shut down. There's womanism, which I really don't, I mean, I just haven't spent the time in that. I just believe in a natural order. If somebody comes to the front door, I expect my husband to pick up the AK-47 and handle business. But I'm going to be behind him with the AR. So if he goes down, I'm spraying everybody. So that's my main thought. I have sons. My sons, of course, husband, they're probably gonna go right behind them, but the mama bearing me says, these are my babies, and I'm gonna take you out. So that a lot of people have told me I'm definitely a feminist, and I say, well, let's explore and examine that and describe to me what that means and what type of feminist would I be, because I believe in gender roles. I just do. That's me.
Well, I appreciate the question, my husband, but I too don't feel I fit into a category or a box or a description of feminism or any kind of ism. I have always, I like Dr. Jamille. I was raised in a home where I had a mother and a father, and my mom would come into the house straight off from work, kick her shoes off, wash her hands, put on an apron, and go straight to the kitchen. That was something I wasn't gonna do. I loved her for who she was and who she felt she had to be. But my dad could cook just as much as she could have. He could come home and he could have made dinner as well. But it was always mom was going to make the dinner and he was going to sit down and partake in it. I don't grieve over those types of roles. And as you know, I can do as much as you and you can do as much as me, and we kind of complement and we fight over sometimes what will and won't get done. But I don't put myself in any of those isms. I agree with Dr. Jamille. We are in a place of being helpmates, and that's the way I hope my daughters will see life as they go on. They need to have the support. They need to get out of their heads. And I do believe in the word. There's some scripture that gives me strength every day. But the idea that submissiveness has to be a thumb on the shoulder or a pulling from behind, we have to always be side by side, because we don't get much of much done if we have to be in a line. As Dr. Jamille said, if somebody's coming in that door, I'm got your back, but I'm also right alongside you to take that gun and do whatever it is I have to do to make sure that we're safe. So I don't know if that made sense, but that's what I'm going to stick to.
It's her story and she's sticking to it.
I love it. And that all fits. I think feminism is one of those words that whenever, somebody asks you a question about it, it's necessary to get a definition, a functional definition between the two of you about what that means, because as the question alludes to, there are a lot of different interpretations of what that means. I have a general understanding of it, and, some more focused on some of the aspects of it where I've read, but I've always perceived it to be in its somewhat individual focus, or exclusive gender focus, an extreme response or an unbalanced response to an unbalanced situation. And I could see how it could be perceived that an unbalanced response is necessary to balance an unbalanced situation. But I think the way I understand feminism generally, I still perceive it to be. I think it goes too far in some of its efforts to respond to the extremes of patriarchy with a female-based version of that, and I don't think that's the objective we want. That's why with what I've learned about the womanism, I've seen a distinction between those theoretically, and womanism, as I understand it, is, at least my perception of it, is more of a balanced response to the imbalances of patriarchy that certainly need to be responded to. You know, if we can't understand and support the need for women to be empowered in their womanhood, then we can't argue that we have a practical understanding of humanity. You know, I mean, women working together in harmony are at the foundation of so many things that are good about the world. You know, and that's, I'm talking about the collective efforts. The individual efforts stand on their own because, you know, we're all here, and there's only one way that we got here, and that was through a woman. So, you know, any organized effort to elevate perceptions of what it means to be woman, and the efforts of womanhood, I think should be championed. But I think those that are more balanced, you know, in terms of the objective, not just an unbalanced response to an unbalanced situation, are the way to go. So I'm looking forward to the discussion that we're planning to have next week on that. And Brother Quayle, I'm looking forward to you summarizing or offering a response to the question that you posed of your own. I'm interested in that as well.
Well, I appreciate you splashing that back at me, because the focus of the question was gender, not feminism. But nevertheless, I very much appreciate the responses. I gained a lot from that. So what I was trying to get at is that within the mainstream, there is an increasing conflating of women's issues and gender issues, such that when one gets discussed, it seems to evoke references to the other outside of the mainstream in our community, in our hood. Those gender questions seem to be dealt with differently. And so I was trying to evoke a response as to how those issues of gender are discussed differently in our community, and how those gender issues have an impact on our unity as a community, because indeed those issues, particularly as they are discussed in the mainstream, where so many people with so-called Black skin are trying to get into the mainstream, those issues of gender tend to be very disruptive for us as African people. And so that's where my question was going, though I don't expect a response directly to that now, because I know that there are some other questions that others have, and we can circle back around to mine if there's time.
Okay, we appreciate your grace on that, and I will accept that. I do want to offer a response to that, because that caused me to reflect on a prior study group session that we've had. Does anyone else have any questions, points of discussion, following up on the presentations that we saw, or a further response to Quayle?
I want to respond. And brother, I definitely hear you. But if I were to say something right now that I think that we all need to hear is that gender issues are only an issue because we are trying to be like those folk. We're not being our African selves, our Aboriginal selves. We're trying to be like those folk. gender is not, really, we shouldn't even be having this discussion. And I'm going to tell you why. We can't get stuck on gender. Now you have all this fluid and all this other stuff that I'm not going to get into. We shouldn't be stuck on gender and feminism and all that, because none of that matters anymore. And actually, it should have never mattered. What matters now is that we can grow our food, that we can protect ourselves, that we can build roofs over our head when we need to, that we know about the herbs to heal ourselves because we are at war. And if we're so busy arguing about or talking about, patriarchy and all these other things, we're being defeated while we're running our mouths about that. We're going to starve to death because we should be learning how to grow things and get prepared for what is to come. And it's just a distraction from where we should be looking. And by the time we finally pay attention, it'll be too late to do anything. And it's going to take us, not patriarchy, not feminine, whatever you call it. It's going to take the family unit coming together to build and protect each other. And that is what it's going to take.
Yeah. Well, we certainly agree with that. We running low. We got about 4 minutes to go. Let me get a response from you, Akir. I want to respond to Clearly also if we have time. Go ahead, brother.
Yes, I'll keep it quick. I first want to say I'm very grateful to be able to listen to both these women speak today. Thank you both. You did wonderful jobs, and I'm happy to not only hear your initial discussion points, but also the responses to questions. And the question that I have is, in this world now, what advice do you have as a father of a young daughter? My daughter's 1; she'll be 2 soon. What advice do you have for raising a girl into today's world, a Black woman, so to grow into a Black woman that can be respected in the way that you talk about the female influences that you had in your lives? Because I see how both of you had how your eyes lit up when you talked about the people that came before you, and I'm very curious as to how I can plant the seeds now to grow that for the future.
Excellent.
Well, I will just say I feel very blessed to have had daughters and have planted in their head the fact that they will have 3 issues when they walk in the door. They're female, they're Black, and half the time they were the youngest. You got to be in a place of not being fearful of the spaces that you walk into, not be afraid to fail walking into those spaces, but learn from them. But as I said earlier, you got to have a whole lot of confidence, support from family, be ready to take the hard knocks because you're female, you're Black, and young, but use those to your strengths. Because as the poem said, or the spoken word, everybody wants to be like us, but they don't know how to do that unless they have that confidence and full force of who they are and self-confident to not allow folks to bully and knock them down and feel that you're not going to get back up. Come up swinging.
Come up swinging. I like that. Dr. J.
I would tell you that every woman, when she's out looking for a mate, is looking for a father. Whatever kind of father you are is a type of mate that she's going to choose. So we often think it's the moms, it's our job as mothers to show them how to be young ladies, but it's your job as a father to show her how to be a wife. So if you spend time with her, if you're taking her places, if you set the standard, she may go to the left, but she'll eventually come back. Train up a child in the way it should go and they won't depart from it. So you be that standard, you be that model of a man. So when she looks to a man, she's going to say, my daddy did this. Mm-hmm. If you can't do what my daddy did, then you are not qualified.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I was just thinking about that very thing today because of conversations that I've had with my 9-year-old daughter here today and yesterday, as a matter of fact. That the standard is being set high, and I feel for some of the challenges that the young fellas are going to have out there once she gets out there, because of the standard that's being set. Brother Quayle, that was the question that you were trying to get to is at the heart of a lot of what's happening out there right now. That whole gender conversation is being merged with any and everything as a strategy. And it certainly has a foothold in our community to some degree. It's not it's active, but I don't think it's impactful in the most meaningful way. But it certainly is. It is out there. Um, I think the best thing that we can do is be aware of it, and then consistent with what I think Dr. J was saying about it. Figure out the best way to allow it to have the least impact as possible on the real work, that we're doing, because ultimately all of that's a distraction unless that conversation is really about getting to the foundation of what these issues are, and not just about trying to exploit that whole LGBTQ initiative and things that in the agenda that they have. I don't want to go much longer on that, but I wanted to respond to that in the context that you had asked that question. We have run up to the 7 o'clock hour. I want to give one final opportunity for any closing comments from our two presenters here as we get ready to wrap up. Dr. J or Sister Kathy?
Just Asante Sana for listening, giving me the courage to do this. And I look forward to next week.
Oh, excellent, excellent. And you bring the courage with you every day. Dr. J?
Asante Sana as well. There's so much to learn if we just want to learn it and come together and learn to listen. Yeah. Learn to listen. That's something we don't do.
Yes, yes. Want to thank you two beautiful sisters once again for taking the opportunity to lead us in this discussion tonight. And we want to thank everybody who took the opportunity to come out tonight to spend this time with us and have a principled discussion with us about what it means to be us, and how we can actively engage the 7 principles as a daily vocation, not just at the end of the year. So with that, we're going to close out this meeting. We had a guest here tonight. Brother Senkyu came in. Let me see. We glad to see you. And now that I see your face, brother, I certainly do remember our meeting. And welcome the opportunity to have you join us. I don't know, did I send my phone number in my response to you? If I did, if I didn't, I will. I want us to have the opportunity to chat a bit, perhaps on Thursday of this week, if that works for you. Are you available on that day?
Yes, sir, I am. And Asante Santa, and beautiful presentation. And yes, sir, you did send me your phone number. So thank you so much. I appreciate being able to participate.
Excellent.
And thank you, family.
Well, if you want me to give you a call at a particular time, respond with your info and the time. Otherwise, I'll be available on Thursday during the day, so you can reach out, anytime that's convenient for you. So
okay.
However you want to handle it.
All right, will do, sir. Thank you. I'll try and give you a call on Thursday.
Excellent, excellent.
All right, thank you so much.
So with this, we're going to close out, and then we'll continue our group discussion. So Brother Senkyu, we will see you on upcoming occasion here, and go ahead and get into our evening. So greetings and good evening to you, kind sir, and I look forward to talking to you on Thursday.
Good evening, and Asante. Thank you. Asante. Good night.
And Sister Amina. Yeah, Sister Amina throwing up the deuces. Thank you as well for joining us. And
yes, of course.
Yes, indeed.
Pleasure.
Indeed. I'm gonna have to talk to you too about what we're doing here and where we're going with it. So if you want to participate with us, you can certainly sit in. If not, then, if you don't want to do it tonight, then I can follow up with you and we can have a chat and then take it from there. But if you're not going to participate like with the Inland Area Kwanzaa group, then we're gonna have a group discussion, and we can follow up. So let me know whether you want to participate or whether we're gonna chat it up a little bit later.
Brother, you should stop the recording.
I did.
No.